A question that I even asked in the last episode, which got addressed, Ikora Rey, thankfully. They said Ikora Rey is going to be playing a major role in Witch Queen, which is good. Do you have any thoughts on that? How do you think Ikora is likely to be involved in Witch Queen? What's that connection to the Hive and Sabbath and all this, do you think?
Well, I mean, the reality of it is that when it comes down to knowledge of the darker aspects of Destiny's universe, warlocks have always been key to all of this. Osiris was Ikora's mentor, and, Osiris and Toland were confidants, and they were very much like in that same league of exiled warlocks who kind of thought they knew better about what the threats to the tower really were. And then, of course, there's the link between Ikora and Eris Morn, and Eris is integrally linked to both Toland and the Hive, and has basically stated in some of the lore books that she is going after Savathun, like, she's gunning for the Witch Queen. And Ikora is kind of an interesting point between the Vanguard and, everybody who is on that sort of more clandestine side of Destiny, be they Eris or Toland or the Drifter, or, for that matter, our enemies, such as the Witch Queen. So, Ikora being the main touch point for the story on that, as far as we're concerned, I think is a strong place to start. We've had a lot of Zavala and Osiris and...
Lots of Zavala.
And Crow, of course. And, that's honestly, that's good. Cause,
yeah, he's the commander. Yeah, right.
He is the commander. And people have fallen in love with those characters. And not for anything small as well. I think that there is a genuine sentiment in the community that really does just love Lance Reddick now. He's become a bit of an icon.
Sure.
But it's one of those things of, I think now people are affectionate about the story generally. And they're not sitting there asking about Ikora because it's one of these things of irritation. They're asking out of genuine affection, I think. And it's good to see that, aside from anything else, because it's refreshing that that's a place we're at in the story where people actually want to hear from these characters. Can you imagine saying that 7 years ago? People being like, man, I want to know what Ikora's doing right now. I haven't heard from her in a bit.
And even all the Vanguard, they were just the three dudes around a table. They were just
exactly like back in 2014, it would have been like, who the hell is Ikora? Who's Zavala?
Yeah. Which one's that again?
You mean the one guy with the copy pasta? Oh man, I wish people would stop saying that copy pasta. It's not. It'll die.
I don't even think it was
6
that
months.
big of a thing back then. It wasn't even. Yeah. I don't think we even appreciated it. Well, we did. I think it was definitely a staple. Varric had his lines, but I think as time went on, it just became the greatest. But earlier on, they were just the Vanguard meant. It was just whichever class you were on, they would have the bounties and a couple weapons, and then the other two would have nothing for you if you weren't that class. The Vanguard has come a long way, but it shows that Bungie is listening, because it's a very specific point. Yeah, it just shows that they've been definitely paying attention to the chat.
I did not expect them to address this of all things. It's good they did.
It definitely shows that they've been paying attention to, because a lot of people were saying, where is Ikora?
And taking their narrative seriously too, there's some points that have missed the mark in the last season, but not a lot. And I think a lot of that is due to very careful attention, not just to what works well for the story, but also to what the community really liked and wanted. Best example, I think, is go back to Curse of Osiris. People were disappointed of how little they ended up seeing of Osiris in an expansion that literally bore his name. And as a result, as time has gone on, we've seen even more. Osiris was a major character in Season of Dawn, and fantastic appearance there. We saw a lot out of Osiris in this season and last season. It's good stuff. It's just really fantastic. And seeing these characters brought forward here shows that they are keeping their nose to the ground as far as finding out what the good story beats are and what the good characters are that people have attached to.
Osiris was his very, very what's the word? Just underwhelming debut. He was one of the most legendary characters in Destiny 1, and then his very underwhelming debut in Curse of Osiris, and then what was it, Season of Dawn? That was really a big turning. Was that the next time we heard from him after? So I remember it was like a big turning point of Osiris is real lore. Oh yeah, because he was in the Infinite Forest, and
there's lines of dialogue that hint towards him having some input in Forsaken, because they feed both him and Rasputin interesting data from the Curse on the Dreaming City. But yeah, he really only reappeared by the time that we got to Season of Dawn.
Major turning
But when
point.
we got there, that felt like the story that Curse of Osiris deserved to be. And it ends up being the real point at which I think players got to know Osiris, because his story is integrally bound up with Saints, and the entire season was about that. That was, just...
Very good.
Man, this time last year we were having such a good time with that, and I'm so glad I get to be nostalgic about that 1 year later. Normally it takes 3 years for those rose-tinted glasses to come along, but man, that really was an underrated season.
Yeah, now he's in the tower, in the helm, negotiating with Keitel. So yes, it's good to see, like the Vanguard, as I said before, the story is in a good place. And the way they're doing the narrative and the way they're just having the characters be real characters, like actually, responding to a threat instead of just being bounty givers. Yes, very, very good to see.